President Trump a short time ago telling Walmart that the company should, I'm quoting now, eat the cost, end quote, of higher tariffs. The comments come after the retail giant said this week that it would raise prices because of Trump's tariffs being too high.
Walmart, which became the nation's largest retailer by making low prices a priority, as you know, has found itself in a place it's rarely been, warning customers that prices will rise for goods ranging from bananas to car seats. This is the headline there in Rolling Stone, saying Walmart has announced it is raising prices because of President Trump's
daily food, toilet paper, laundry detergent, things that were once common have suddenly become luxuries. More worryingly, Walmart, a retail chain catering to the middle class, has increased prices to a record level, at least up to 70%. While the income of many households remains stagnant, prices are climbing uncontrollably, and consumers are being eroded every day. These 15 Walmart items with record price increases can make it impossible for an average American family to afford the cost of living. Why did this diaper pack go up again? A housewife sighed, glancing at the stroller with only a few basic items, while her little child kept asking for more snacks. She's not alone. Millions of Americans in 2025 are finding grocery shopping a guessing game. What they can buy today may be too much next week. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon speaks out. In May 2025, a short but powerful statement from Walmart CEO Doug McMillon shocked the retail world and millions of American households. Walmart will begin increasing prices on a range of essential items, directly impacted by new import tariffs on goods from China and Latin America. Known as a cheap store for everyone, Walmart has long been a favorite shopping destination for middle-class and working-class Americans. However, Doug McMillon admitted, "We will try to keep food prices as stable as possible, but with very thin retail margins, we cannot absorb all of the increased costs." The truth is that Walmart is also having a huge headache. With a retail model with extremely low profit margins of only about 2 to 3%, rising import costs without being able to raise prices will cause them to lose heavily. And Walmart, like any business, cannot sell at a loss forever. In other words, American consumers will have to pay more for imported goods, from appliances and toys to clothing and electronics. This is a big blow to families who have been struggling with inflation and high living costs for the past 2 years. Here are 15 Walmart price increases that the average American family can't afford. 1. Egg prices skyrocket by up to 85% at Walmart. In a crowded corner of a Walmart in the United States, a customer stopped in front of the egg shelf, looked at the price tag, and sighed. "I used to pay $3 for a 12-pack of grade A eggs. Now it's almost $5. Almost doubled in less than a year," she said. She's not alone. Many others are feeling the pressure of rapidly escalating egg prices. The U.S. egg industry has seen record demand for 20 straight months. It's not just that consumers are eating more eggs, it's also the result of the ongoing bird flu pandemic, which has severely tightened supplies. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says more than 41 million egg-laying hens were culled in late 2024 and early 2025 to stop the spread of the disease. It's a huge shock that has left eggs scarce and prices soaring. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, a 12-pack of large, cage-free grade AA eggs sold for nearly $19 in January 2025, a price that would have been a dream for the average housewife. The average price now hovers around $5 for a pack of grade A eggs, nearly double what it was in August 2023. That number could rise to more than $8 and continue to break records. The egg shortage has forced many supermarkets, including Walmart, to impose limits on the number of eggs purchased at a time. For example, you can only buy 3 cartons of eggs at a time and no more. Even if consumers want to buy a lot, they have to consider and allocate reasonably. An unlikely but real-life situation. Egg heists, or large-scale egg thefts. In Pennsylvania, a group of thieves stole up to 100,000 eggs, worth about $40,000. The incident stunned both the police and the local media, who had never seen such a terrible theft of essential goods. In addition to supply shortages, egg prices are also being impacted by rising transportation costs. The U.S. is facing a shortage of refrigerated truck drivers, causing transportation costs to skyrocket. This has pushed up egg prices, forcing supermarkets, not just Walmart, to adjust their prices to compensate. Market experts say egg prices can only stabilize when the bird flu epidemic is completely controlled and no new cases appear. This is a big challenge in the short term, especially when the epidemic is still complicated in many states such as California, Indiana, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio. Even this essential item has increased in price. 2. Domino sugar price increased by 74%. Mary, a housewife from a small suburb, walked out of a Walmart with a puzzled look on her face. "Domino sugar is so expensive, I can't believe it." Mary is not the only one shocked by the sharp rise in sugar prices. At Walmart stores across the country, Domino's sugar, a staple in many kitchens, is being sold at an unprecedented price of $5 a bag. It has increased by at least 75%, confusing many consumers and forcing Walmart to adjust its business plan. The increase in sugar prices is not only due to simple supply and demand, but is also heavily influenced by soaring transportation costs and raw material prices. Mr. Tom, the owner of a small grocery store, shared, "The increase in fuel costs has made the cost of transporting goods much higher than before. Sugar is produced in many places, transported by refrigerated trucks, containers. Each step increases the cost. When the goods arrive at the store, we have to increase the selling price to ensure operations." Sugar is an essential part of everyday life, from making coffee, baking, to preparing many dishes. When sugar prices rise, consumers feel the burden of balancing their monthly expenses, especially for families on a tight budget. Economists say that with fuel, transportation, and raw material prices all climbing, sugar prices may not stay at their current high levels. Only when supply is stable and transportation costs are reduced can sugar prices cool down. 3. Whole milk, 1 gallon, increased by 65%. A busy mother stands in front of the milk shelf at Walmart and grimaces as she looks at the new price of whole milk, about $5.50 a gallon, up 65% from the previous price. While prices vary between brands and types of milk, overall, whole milk prices at Walmart have increased, reflecting the overall market trend. The reason is not difficult to understand. The price of feed for dairy cows and the cost of electricity have both skyrocketed, causing the cost of milk production to increase as well. Cows need more nutritious food, but the price of food is pushed up. At the same time, the farm has to consume more electricity for cooling systems and operating machinery, leading to a sharp increase in overall costs. This is a challenge for the entire supply chain. Walmart and other supermarkets are forced to raise their retail milk prices to cover the costs. The result is higher prices for consumers, which can change their shopping habits or cause them to consider alternatives. Market experts predict that if animal feed and electricity prices continue to increase, whole milk prices may not stop at this level but continue to fluctuate in the coming time. Consumers have no choice but to adjust their budgets or make smarter choices when shopping. 4. Jasmine Rice increased by 70%. Jasmine Rice is also a rising star at Walmart right now, with prices starting at about $9 for a 10-pound bag, up nearly 70% from last year. It turns out that the story is not just about the price on the shelf. In the famous Jasmine Rice growing region, vast fields are now facing a prolonged drought. Small rivers have dried up. The arid land is not irrigated enough, causing heavy crop failures. "Every season is now a battle with nature," said Sarah, a farmer here. "Without water, the plants cannot thrive, and yields are significantly reduced." In addition, transportation costs are constantly increasing. Truck drivers like Michael lamented, "Gasoline prices are rising, roads are getting crowded, making transporting goods more difficult and expensive. This leads to increased delivery costs, directly pushing up rice prices at major supermarkets. With a 65 and 70% increase, Jasmine Rice is becoming a difficult item for many families. Those who love the fragrant sticky rice now have to consider carefully every time they buy it. This story is not just about price, but also deeply reflects the impact of climate change and operating costs on daily food sources, which we often take for granted. Only when the drought eases and the transportation chain improves can the price of Jasmine Rice return to normal, a long journey that everyone is watching every day. 5. Vegetable oil, 1 gallon, up 85% at Walmart. At Walmart, an unhappy story is unfolding for consumers when the price of 1 gallon of vegetable oil suddenly skyrocketed by 85 to 90%, reaching about $8.50 to $9.0 per can. Before the sharp increase, the price of vegetable oil, 1 gallon at Walmart usually fluctuated around $4.50 to $5 per can. The price increase has caused many housewives to have a headache calculating every penny in their shopping cart. A regular customer said, "Every time I come here to buy cooking oil, I have to consider carefully because the price has increased so quickly, almost double compared to a few months ago." The story behind this sky-high price is not simply about a can of oil. Raw material supplies are dwindling due to prolonged droughts in key growing regions, while transportation costs continue to rise due to fuel prices and a shortage of truck drivers. When raw materials are scarce and transportation costs are rising, product prices are bound to go up, said distributor Mark. This situation not only disrupts family budgets, but also puts pressure on the culinary and food production industries, forcing people to adapt to new prices and even change their consumption habits. In the meantime, everyone is looking forward to a positive signal when the droughts are over and the supply chain is restored, so that cooking oil prices can cool down, bringing a lighter breath to every family's wallet. 6. Mothers with babies are hurting their wallets because baby diapers have increased by 60%. One weekend morning, Mia, the mother of a toddler who had just learned to crawl, was standing in the diaper aisle at Walmart, frowning slightly at the sudden price hike. A box of her average diapers used to cost about $20, but now it had jumped to $31, an increase of about 55 to 60%. Mia is not the only one who is suffering from diapers. The main reason is the ever-increasing cost of raw materials and transportation. A person working in the paper industry once shared, "Paper pulp for making diapers is increasingly scarce and more expensive due to the impact of climate change and disruptions to the global supply chain." On top of that, shipping costs have also skyrocketed, as rising gas prices and a shortage of truck drivers have made things more expensive than ever. Walmart and other grocery chains have been forced to raise diaper prices to cover the costs. But that's making it difficult for young families struggling to pay for their little ones. The 50% increase in diaper prices is not just a number, but a real pressure on daily life. Now, choosing diapers for your baby is no longer just a matter of brand or quality, but also a financial problem that needs to be considered more carefully than ever. 7. Imported toys also increased from 20%. A 5-year-old boy, every Sunday morning, eagerly goes to Walmart with his parents. His favorite corner is the toy section, but today his mother has to shake her head. You can only choose one item. The price of toys has increased today. The baby didn't understand what price increase meant, only that before his mother gave him 2 dishes, but now only 1. The answer lies far, far away, across the ocean. Most children's toys are imported from China, where large factories mass-produce fun items at reasonable costs. But when import tariffs are high, these items arrive in the United States at prices 5% to 20% higher than they used to be. And so, a seemingly simple plastic dinosaur or puzzle becomes a high-end item in the family shopping basket. Children are restricted by their parents' toy purchases and are forced to reuse old toys. The increase in toy prices not only makes children sad, but also makes parents have to calculate more carefully in spending. Especially during holidays, birthdays, and Christmas, when gifts are an important part of children's joy, a small change in price can also create a lot of financial pressure for middle-income families. 8. Welch's raisins up 68%. A bag of raisins that used to cost about $3.50 is now nearly $6. What happened? Let's hear it from the perspective of a California grape grower who supplies Welch's with the main ingredient. He shares that in recent years production costs have skyrocketed, from fertilizers to labor to utilities. In addition, the raisin company has increased its support for farmers like him to ensure that their vines thrive in increasingly harsh climates. All of these costs are ultimately passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Not only that, maintaining the quality of Welch's raisins, which are known for their natural sweetness and crunch, requires a rigorous production process, which further increases costs. Along with that, increased transportation costs due to rising fuel prices have increased the final price even more. We want to maintain the quality for consumers, but with input prices increasing every day, the selling price is also forced to adjust, a Walmart employee shared. We also understand that the new price of around $5.80, $6 per pack of raisins, is a fair price to ensure that both farmers and manufacturers can continue to provide quality products. 9. Laundry detergent prices at Walmart increased by 40% to 50%. Recently, many consumers in the U.S. have noticed a familiar but unpleasant phenomenon: smaller products but higher prices. Tide laundry detergent is a clear example. Previously, a 100-ounce bottle was a popular choice. However, now the size is down to 84 ounces, but the price has increased by about $1 per bottle. This means consumers pay more for less of the product, even though the physical appearance of the product has hardly changed. This is a phenomenon known as shrinkflation, a way for manufacturers to cope with rising production costs without raising prices too dramatically. Manufacturers are not deliberately trying to trick consumers, but they are facing a series of economic pressures. The prices of raw materials for detergents, fragrances, and chemical ingredients have all increased sharply. Packaging, and especially shipping costs are escalating due to rising fuel and labor costs. In order to avoid shocking consumers with sudden price increases, some companies choose to quietly shrink their products instead of making obvious price adjustments. As a result, when consumers do the math, the price per ounce of laundry detergent is now much more expensive. 10. Imported fruits are expensive. Prices for imported fruits at Walmart, including bananas, avocados, and tomatoes, have increased by 10% to 30% recently. The increase is not necessarily due to a shortage of goods, but rather due to higher import taxes from Latin American countries. Since the majority of bananas, avocados, and tomatoes in U.S. supermarkets come from countries like Mexico, Ecuador, or Guatemala, any changes in tariff policy would quickly affect retail prices at chains like Walmart. Did you know that to reach consumers, an avocado has to travel thousands of miles, go through agricultural inspection, go through ports, be packaged, labeled, and then be transported cold? When import tariffs increase, the costs of the entire chain increase, and consumers like us are the ones who pay the difference. With current prices ranging from $1.50 to $2.50 per avocado, each $65 to $80 per pound of bananas, and $2.50 to $3.50 per pound of tomatoes, many American consumers are having to reconsider their usual weekly choices. 11. Beef is on the rise. A college student went to Walmart as usual but stopped in front of the meat counter. $6.50 a pound. It was $4.50 just last month. The price of ground beef had increased significantly, making the familiar hamburger suddenly expensive. Many consumers in the United States are feeling the pinch from rising ground beef prices at major supermarkets like Walmart. The problem isn't simply not enough meat. It's the entire supply chain. Production costs have risen sharply, with feed prices, electricity, water, and labor costs on beef farms all rising sharply over the past year. Getting beef from farm to factory to supermarket shelves has become more expensive due to rising fuel and logistics costs. Some areas have also experienced drought, which has significantly reduced the amount of beef cattle on the market. Currently, ground beef prices at Walmart are around $6. 7 pound, up 40–50% from the previous price, ET's 4.5 pound. For large families or those who regularly eat beef, this creates significant pressure. 12. Canned food prices quietly climb. Lily, a single mother living in the suburbs, has a survival habit. Every month, she fills a cupboard with all kinds of canned goods, from beans, tuna, soup to tomato sauce. Not only is canned goods convenient, they are also a savior on busy days with 2 small children and an office job. But today, as she pushes her cart in Walmart, she pauses and frowns. A can of tuna isn't even $1.20 anymore. She was not wrong. Canned food prices were quietly climbing, increasing by 20% to 30%, depending on the product. It's not just mass price increases. Behind every tin can is a whole series of reasons. Raw materials such as fish, meat, beans, etc. are all being affected by rising production costs. Aluminum or tin cans, seemingly simple, are being priced higher because of skyrocketing smelting and transportation costs. Especially for imported products, shipping delays and high freight rates are making the situation even more tense. Although the increase is not too shocking, for consumers who are used to buying in large quantities, the cumulative cost each month is not small. 13. Walmart electronics prices up 5 to 15%. Recently, the prices of electronic products such as Xbox and laptops at Walmart have increased by 5 to 15%. This change is not random, but is influenced by many complex factors in the global supply chain. First, import tariffs on goods from major markets like China have increased significantly, directly pushing up input costs for retailers. In addition, manufacturing costs have continued to rise due to shortages of key components like semiconductors, displays, and other electronic components. Furthermore, transportation and logistics costs are also under strain, causing ocean and road freight rates to skyrocket. All of these factors combine to put a lot of pressure on final retail prices. For example, the average price of an Xbox has now risen to around $330–$345, while laptops have gone up to $750–$800 depending on configuration and brand. Although the price increase is not shocking, it is enough to make consumers consider their spending plans more carefully, especially for technology products that are inherently high value and infrequently replaceable. This volatility not only reflects the overall picture of the electronics industry, but also demonstrates the major challenges taking place in the global market, from tariffs, production, to logistics, factors that consumers need to understand clearly in order to adjust their shopping plans appropriately. 14. Pasta price increases. 65%. When a simple pack of spaghetti becomes a challenge for students. Pasta, a familiar, convenient, and almost indispensable dish in the kitchens of many young people, is witnessing a surprising price climb. In just a short time, the increase of up to 65% has made many consumers, especially students, sigh in disappointment when holding a package of spaghetti that used to be very popular. The main reason stems from the price of semolina flour, the core ingredient of pasta, which is directly affected by the rising price of wheat on the world market. Wheat is a commodity that is easily affected by climate change, scarcity, and geopolitical fluctuations, which in turn causes the price of semolina flour to continuously increase. Additionally, transportation costs have skyrocketed due to high global fuel prices and logistics costs, which increases the overall cost of producing, packaging, and delivering pasta to consumers. With the new prices, a 500 green pack of pasta can now cost around $2.50, much higher than before. For those living on a tight budget, such as students or workers, This is really a big challenge in balancing daily expenses. 15. Roasted coffee prices increased by 50 to 60%. Waking up every morning with a cup of fragrant roasted coffee is not only a habit, but also an inspiration to start a new day. However, coffee lovers now have to prepare for a price increase of 50 to 60%. A big number for those who often buy coffee bags for 8 to 12 USD. The underlying cause comes from adverse weather fluctuations in key coffee-growing regions around the world. Drought, erratic rains, and frost all directly impact the productivity and quality of coffee beans, reducing supply and pushing up raw material prices. Not only that, transportation and production costs also increase, creating a chain effect that pushes the price of roasted coffee to consumers higher than before. Notably, in the face of Walmart's continuous price increases, President Trump had to speak out. Trump says Walmart should eat taxes. Instead of raising prices, U.S. President Donald Trump has criticized retail giant Walmart after the company announced it would be forced to raise prices due to tariffs. Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as a reason to raise prices across the chain. Between Walmart and China, they should, as I say, eat the tariffs and not charge their customers anything more. I will be watching, and so will your customers, President Trump wrote on the social network Truth Social on May 17th. The post comes after Walmart CEO Douglas McMillon blamed the price increases on tariffs imposed by President Trump that were too high, especially on Chinese goods. On May 20th, Walmart responded to Mr. Trump's harsh words. "We've always worked to keep prices as low as possible, and we're not going to stop," said Walmart spokesman Joe Pennington. "We're going to keep prices as low as possible for as long as we can, given the fact that retail margins are very small." The retailer is also the latest company to not provide second-quarter earnings guidance due to uncertainty surrounding President Trump's tariff policies. The proposed tariffs are quite challenging for all retailers, for suppliers, and certainly our concern is that consumers will feel it, Walmart CFO John David Rainey said in an interview with CNBC on May 15th. Faint hope for U.S. retail in the next 90 days? The U.S. and China's agreement to renegotiate tariffs within the next 90 days is seen as a fragile but important ray of hope for major retail chains such as Walmart, Target, and Costco. With inflation showing no signs of abating, the prices of imported goods, especially from China, continue to be under pressure from high tariffs, causing input costs to skyrocket and forcing retailers to adjust their prices. For Walmart, the discount retail giant, maintaining reasonable prices is vital to retaining American consumers, who are increasingly price-sensitive. Any effort to lower or eliminate tariffs on imports from China could have a positive domino effect. Lower import prices, stable retail prices, and thereby somewhat ease the spending pressure for millions of households. But the table is still open. If negotiations fail to make significant progress, the wave of price increases could continue to spread, leaving retailers in a difficult position of either accepting lower margins or pushing prices even higher, risking consumer loyalty. Over the next 90 days, the U.S. retail industry will not only be closely watching every move from Washington and Beijing, but will also have to deal with price volatility that a smooth tariff deal could have greatly alleviated.